In the last example, it says a store receives an average of 7 new movies per week. In part A, it says write an equation to find the number of new movies, M, in any number of weeks, W. So I'm going to assume that given this information, my constant rate of change is that 7 new movies per week. And my key word here that tells me this is a rate of change is that word per. So it also says that I don't have any movies starting out with. So I'm going to assume that my starting value is 0 movies. Now I can write my equation. I know that my output is equal to my constant rate of change times an input plus a starting value. So let's go through. I have everything that I need to know. It says that write an equation to find the number of new movies, M. Well, M is going to depend, or going to be the output of my constant rate of change times the number of weeks. So M, or the number of movies, is going to be my output, and that's equal to my constant rate of change, 7, times my input, and that's going to be the number of weeks. Now, my starting value, I didn't start with any movies, so it would be plus 0. But remember, just like in the 2 previous examples, identity property, we don't need to write the plus 0. So the equation I'm going to use is going to be M equals 7W, or the number of movies equals 7 movies times the number of weeks. Part B, it says make a table to find the number of new movies received in 4, 5, 6, or 7 weeks. So I have my table here, just like you do in your book. And first thing I need to do is put titles in the columns of my table. So the first column I want to be my input, and that's an always kind of thing. I always want my first column in my table to be my input. And my input, we said, was W, or the number of weeks. And the second column, I want to be my output, which we said was the number of movies, or M. Now, in the directions it says, make a table, and then we want to have some ordered pairs because we're going to graph these ordered pairs. So this last column is going to be for my ordered pairs, and it's going to be W, because that's going to be my input value first, comma, M, so that's my output value. So I'm looking for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, or 7 weeks. And I'm going to use my equation, M equals 7W, to figure out what my output is for 4 weeks, for 5 weeks, for 6 weeks, and for 7 weeks. So if I know that W equals 4, in place of W in my equation, I'm going to substitute 4. So M equals 7 times 4, because it's 4 weeks. Well, 7 times 4 is 28. So at 4 weeks, there are 28 movies, which means that my ordered pair, in this case, would be 4, 28. And what if my weeks are 5? So W equals 5 for 5 weeks. In place of W, I substitute 5. And 7 times 5 is 35. So my ordered pair would be 5, 35. Well, what if my W, the number of weeks, is 6 weeks? Well, W equals 6, and in place of W, I'm going to write 6 now. And I know that 7 times 6 is 42. So my ordered pair will be 6, 42. And for the last one, we want W to equal 7. So in place of W, I'm going to substitute 7. And 7 times 7 is 49. So my ordered pair would be 7, 49. Now the very last part of this question is, let's take all of this information, especially the ordered pairs, and put them onto a graph. So I have my graph right over here. Now there's a couple of things that we have to do on this graph in order to make it complete. So it's given to you like this. First of all, it gives you these blank boxes so that you can label what's going to go on the horizontal axis, which is always your input. And in this case, we know our input is W, or weeks. And we want to label, well, what's our output? Our output is always the vertical axis. So in this case, it's going to be number of movies, or M. And it gives you a hint because it's labeled W and M, just in case you're not sure. Now, with the information we found from the ordered pairs, we just put those onto our graph as points. So our first ordered pair, 4, 28. M is 4, so I go over to 4. W is 28, so from this point I go up 28, 20, 25. I'm going to have to estimate just a little bit. I think it's about right there. And I place a point. Next one, 5, 35. So I go over to 5 weeks and up to 35 movies. Now that I do not have to estimate because it's on 2 grid lines, and I put a point. Next one is 6, 42. I go over to 6 weeks, up to 42. I'm going to have to estimate just a little bit. It's about right there. And the last one is 7, 49. I go over to 7 weeks, up to 49, which is about right there. And hopefully you notice that these points, if we connected them, should make a straight line, because as we found in our equation, there is a constant rate of change of 7 per week.